On the Autocar show today, an extremely high performance machine. Now, when we talk about high performance, you can't get any higher than that. That's the Indian Navy's MiG-29k. Indian Navy fighter pilots have the best job in the world. They fly the MiG-29k, a carrier-based fighter that's nothing short of a demon in the air. Crazy thing is, the 29k is also insanely fast on the ground. It has to be. The aircraft carrier deck it has to get off is only 190 or 200 meters long, and it has to get to 200 k's before it can lift off that ski ramp. The launch sequence is fascinating to watch. The engines go to full thrust and then the restraining blocks are dropped. Time taken 7 or 8 seconds, and that's seriously quick for something that weighs 20 tons. But where does it get all that performance from? And how is the 29k, the carrier-based version, different from the normal one? Let's start with the important bit. So we're at the business end of the MiG-29k, and what you see here are the 2 Kilmov RD-33M engines that put out 20,000 pounds of thrust each. This device here, that's the arrestor hook. That's what catches the wire when the aircraft hits the deck to slow it down. Other differences are these huge, massive tail-ailerons and flap-ailerons. They're there to slow down the aircraft so it can land easily on the deck. And also for that smack-down deck landing is this kind of undercarriage. It's absolutely overbuilt. It's almost twice the size of a normal fighter jet. Carrier landings are definitely not for the faint-hearted. But let's hear it from the horse's mouth. This is Captain Hota, the man in the MiG.
The aircraft lands at a speed of about 270 kmph. We have to land with an accuracy of a few meters. The carrier is moving, it is rolling, it is pitching, it is yawing, and your aircraft is also getting affected by the winds.
This clearly is a job for adrenaline junkies, and the best bit is all you need to do to fly is sign up to be a naval fighter pilot. To keep the MiG pace, we've enlisted the help of an extremely special car. The 640 horsepower Lamborghini Huracán Performante. The key stats here are a 0 to 100 time of just 2.9 seconds. And what makes this an even better fit is that this car has ALA, or active aerodynamics. Now, ideally, it would have been perfect to run the aircraft and the car on the Indian Navy's shore-based test facility, where the Navy has built a replica of an aircraft carrier on the ground. But while the MiG can get onto the ramp and exit into the blue, there's no space for the car to have a free run. As a result, we decide to use the main runway and the parallel taxiway. But here too, there are a few difficulties. For one, the MiG isn't using its launch control system or hydraulic restraining blocks. And that means the turbines take their own sweet time to make power. So the aircraft is a long way down the runway before it really starts going quick. And then just as the MiG starts getting into its stride, I have to get on the brakes in the Lambo. The parallel taxiway just isn't long enough. After lots of deliberation and calculations and a lot of butterflies in my stomach, we decide to run on the main runway. The MiG on the left and me in the Lambo on the right. Honestly, I don't know what to be more afraid of. The thrust from those nozzles, the heat from the afterburners, or the wake turbulence. To make it more of an even contest, we decide to give each other a sporting chance. The MiG won't be using its launch control, so I won't use the Lambos either. And since the thrust from the turbines take their own time coming in, I'll wait till regular thrust comes in.
Satco flying, commencing run.
For the final run, the passenger in the seat next to me is the base's commander flying, Rohit Gupte. He's my link to the air traffic control. As we line up, I have to stay away from the exhaust nozzles of the 29K as it turns to get into position. Then I crawl in. Autocar rotates the MiG and does a vertical Charlie. Flat out, the 29K can do 2,200 kilometers an hour. We just can't keep up with that. Once in the air, there's just no comparison. And then to celebrate, he executes a low pass at around 100 feet and 700 kilometers an hour. Driving a supercar elevates you to another dimension. But can you imagine the thrill, the high, and the adrenaline rush the MiG must deliver? We're often told we have the best jobs in the world, but Navy fighter pilots, they truly are a breed apart. What a privilege. Nothing quite says multi-utility like the Swiss Army knife. It has a knife, a scissor, a saw, a can opener, a bottle opener, what have you. It's got it all. And that's the reason it's so popular. Something like the car we have today, Porsche's Cayenne. Now, this is the all-new Cayenne. It's a turbo, and that means it has a hulking big V8 with a big turbocharger. Of course, that means it's a sports car. It's very sporty. It's got a lovely, comfortable cabin. It's got an air suspension. You can lift the car up and take it off-road. It's Porsche's own multi-utility vehicle. We had the car with us for a couple of days. Let's just see how good this new generation is. Now, as with every successive 911, telling the new Cayenne from the old is a bit difficult. In this case, however, there is a trick. First, take a look at the rear. The band of LED lights that connects the new slimmer tail lamps to each other is new, similar to that on the Panamera. And this new car also looks more lit and a bit wider. Up front, the bonnet is tighter fitting and more sporty, and that black dumbbell shaped grille, well, that's pretty unique too. The interiors are less evolved and a big departure from the earlier car. And truth be told, the dash with its haptic touch enabled center console is stunning. And Porsche in general has been quite generous. So as is befitting a car that costs 2 crores, a lot of very high quality bits in here. Stuff like this leather that seems absolutely the best quality, double stitching, the same for the steering wheel, and of course these seats, they're just fabulous. I've been in them for a couple of hours, but you just sink in, the side support is fabulous, you don't feel you've been on the road for more than 20 or 30 minutes. Brilliant. Also, now famous, Porsche's huge touchscreen right up front in the center console, and below that, the buttons with the haptic touch. Fabulous touch, absolutely a joy to use. And what they've done to add a little bit more quality are these chrome buttons that have a knurled feel. Fabulous, absolutely super. This car also delivers an information overload. Just take a look at all this information. You really do need an owner's manual at times. NASA has nothing on this. There are, however, a few things that don't quite stack up. You get the Bose sound system instead of the top-of-the-line Burmeister. And this door pad, for example, it's hard plastic, difficult to digest on a car of this price. But how well does it work as a chauffeur-driven car? Now, the Cayenne isn't known for backseat comfort and space, but here you can see on this new version, Porsche has really made an effort to give you a lot of leg room and knee room. There's a decent amount of thigh support, but what's really excellent is lower back support. And although it isn't electric, you can adjust the backrest as well. So seat comfort for long drives is pretty good. What's also not too bad is low speed ride. Now, this car comes with full air suspension and it comes with huge tires and very low profile tires, and that means there is a bit of pitter-patter, a bit of movement that you can feel in the back. This is especially true when you go over a sharp bump where the wheel does tend to give you a bit of a knock, but otherwise once you get to higher speeds, ride is quite good. What you also have from the power window button is this nice sun blind that just pops up and blots out the sun in case it gets too strong. So all in all, quite a nice rear seat package. Now this is a Porsche, and that means whatever else it does, the focus is always on the driver. Now to keep things efficient, this new 8-speed gearbox keeps the engine between 1000 and probably 16 or 1800 RPM when you're driving normally. So even when I accelerate like this, it keeps shifting up to the next gear. It's very proactive. You don't feel the shifts, they're seamless, and it gives you a really smooth and refined driving experience. Now, the Cayenne was always famous for having that absolutely fabulous steering. Just point it into a corner and it's exactly where you want it to be, despite it being a big, heavy SUV. And here too, the accuracy remains. It's pin sharp, it takes you exactly where you point it. Only thing is, this car has a bit less feel. It feels a bit more inert, and that robs you of that last 10 or 15%. But while steering feel is down, what's up is cornering ability. Now on a tight and twisty ghat road, exactly the kind of place you don't want a 2-ton SUV. But this Cayenne is doing beautifully, and that's because it has an active anti-roll bar system. As soon as it detects the car's rolling, it straightens it up. And that's what keeps us pointing straight and level and allows me to use that massive V8 thrust. And what makes it even more agile is the rear wheel steering system. It really does feel like a car that's half its weight. And it's all down to this fabulous technology. And then there's the monster under the hood, that 550 horsepower turbocharged V8. Now the Cayenne Turbo weighs 2 tons and some more. But what makes it so agile and so quick is that it has 770 Nm. And when you put your foot down, this is what happens. It just goes ballistic. This is crazy. This is an SUV. Woo! Point to point, the Cayenne Turbo is probably the fastest SUV ever. What stays with you after a day of driving the new Cayenne Turbo is the fact that it is devastatingly quick. It often carries so much speed into corners, it has you scratching your head. But that's not it. As ever, it even manages to carve around the corners like something that's only half its weight. And then the cabin is beautifully designed and built, and it even works as a luxury car you can be chauffeur driven in. Also, if you want, you can raise the air suspension and go off-road. Remember that Swiss Army knife? Yes, this truly is the automotive equivalent. The steering may not be bursting with feel, and Porsche has cut a few corners when it comes to specifying this car. It is thirsty, it will consume a lot of fuel, and at 2 crores plus, it's seriously expensive. But if you want one car to do it all and are lucky enough not to be limited by something as frivolous as a budget, this is the SUV for you.
The Datsun Go and Go Plus have been around for a long time now. What I have with me today is the updated Go and the updated Go Plus. Both of them get significant changes on the outside as well as on the inside. So let's see them in more detail. I'll talk of the Go Plus in a bit. For the moment, let's focus on the Go and begin with what's new on the outside. The highlight of the Datsun Go facelift up front has got to be the new bumper. It's sharper, it's more angular, and just gives the Go's face a lot more personality. Also new are these LED daytime running lights which bring the car's look in line with the times. At the sides, the main highlight has got to be the larger wheels. They're now 14 inches, diamond cut alloys, and they do so much to the general look and stance of the Go. Also new are the casings for the wing mirrors. The roof rails are part of Datsun's accessories package, so they really can't hold any weight. At the rear, again, the big speaking point is the new bumper. There's also a chrome lip at the base of the tailgate. If you're familiar with the Go, you'll also notice the addition of a rear wiper, and notice these rear parking sensors are now standard. The Go really does look a whole lot better now. This is what it should have looked like to begin with. There's much to talk about on the inside as well. The Datsun Go gets a big makeover on the inside. In fact, if you look around, very little of the original has made its way here. Let's start with the seats. If you remember, the original Datsun Go had these conjoined front seats. They've made way for individual chairs, and the space freed up in between is now home to a conventional handbrake lever. The pull type lever of the original is gone, the dashboard is new, there's a new glove box lid, the instruments console is new, and it's also home to an analog tachometer. But if there's one thing that's really uplifted the cabin ambience, it's got to be the new touchscreen infotainment system. The 7-inch touchscreen that's part of the package on top spec versions commendably comes bundled with Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. It's a slick unit, but the screen is very reflective, and the touch inputs for volume control are also cumbersome to use on the go. Also, the USB and aux inputs sit hidden from view under the gear console. Of the other additions are driver side controls for all power windows and also electric adjust for the wing mirrors. Moving to the back seat. The Datsun Go is no longer the most spacious of the budget hatchbacks, but there is reasonable amount of room. What is a bit of a disappointment is that the headrests are fixed and they are a size too small. Thankfully, Datsun has updated the seat belts at the back. The Go's 265-litre boot is large and can hold quite a bit of luggage. You do miss a parcel shelf, however. The Go uses the same 1.2-litre 3-cylinder petrol engine as before, and its 68 HP and 104 Nm power and torque figures are par for the course for this class of car. As before, the Datsun is peppy and light on its feet, and come to think of it, it's got enough go for average usage. And there's more to it as a city car. The gearbox is a bit notchy, but the clutch is light, the steering is light, you get a good view all around, so it's a fairly easy car to live with. Ride quality is decent, while smaller changes have also helped enhance other aspects of the driving experience. One of the areas of improvement on the Datsun Go has got to be refinement. You hear less of the engine, but the bigger change is in road noise. Datsun has added more cladding, so you won't hear pebbles and the like clunking around in the wheel wells anymore. A word on how the Go feels out of city limits. Performance in town is satisfactory, and you'll also notice one new feature on the Datsun Go when you're out on the highway. Cross 80 kph and you will set off the sound buzzer. It's required by regulation now, and it's there to tell you to tone things down. Also standard on the Go are brake assist, electronic brake distribution and dual front airbags. Datsun also says the updated Go and Go Plus meet India's latest crash test norms that come into effect in October 2019. Switching focus to the Go Plus. It gets all the changes as on the Go, though the Mini MPV's cabin is distinguished by its dual-tone theme. And as before, it gets a third row of seats, but a 7-seater it is not. And that's because the third row is an absolute punishment posting. Just look at how cramped it is. Forget me, I'm nearly 6 feet tall and a fairly large adult. This is not a space even suitable for children. There's only a lap belt for safety, there's no headrest in the back, and the rear windscreen, it's right here. You feel really exposed. Honestly, it's best to fold the last row down and make the most of the extra space for luggage. Of the two models, we'd suggest you stick to the conventional hatchback. The updated Datsun Go's prices start at 3.29 lakh rupees ex-showroom for the base D trim. The mid-spec A optional and T trims cost about the same as corresponding versions of the old car. While only a straight-up comparison with the likes of the Tata Tiago and Maruti Suzuki WagonR will tell if it's the best car for the money, the Go has certainly become far easier to recommend than ever before.